In a world where every expert has a loud voice and certainty sells better than gold, we forget about the greatest intellectual virtue. Have you ever noticed that the more you find out, the less you actually know? This paradox is familiar to everyone who has journeyed from superficial emotional certainty to deep, deliberate doubt. This is not a weakness, but a marker of true intellectual growth. Today, we will delve into this abyss of wisdom left to us by the great Omar Khayyam. This same idea, but much more elegantly, was formulated by the Persian sage, astronomer, and poet Omar Khayyam many centuries ago. Possessing knowledge that most people only dream of, he passed judgment on his years of searching. Here is that incredible Rubai quatrain that has become the epigraph to our discussion today. It sounds like an absolute rejection of any pride. I only know that I am seeking knowledge. Into the deepest secrets I am penetrating. I have been thinking for 72 years, and I see that I know nothing. Khayyam was not merely a philosopher who sat and meditated under palm trees. He was one of the most rigorous scientists of his time. Imagine a person in the 11th century engaging in calendar correction, mathematical analysis, and astronomical calculations. In other words, working with absolute precision. His work required not just faith, but verification, measurement, and constant correction of errors within his own models. That is why his doubt is not a poetic weakness, but the result of gigantic intellectual labor. When you work at the very edge of knowledge, you see how vast the territory of the unknown truly is. While working with the movement of the stars, he dealt with immutable laws, but his poetry focused on the transience of human fate. His Rubaiyat are the collision of mathematical precision and existential uncertainty. This dual experience is what makes his ideas so powerful and relevant. He knew the cost of every decimal point in his calculations, but understood that life cannot be forced into a formula. This dual perspective is key to understanding his absolute uncertainty. This sharply contrasts with the phenomenon that psychologists today call the Dunning-Kruger effect. Recall how, at the beginning of learning a new skill, we feel a sharp peak of confidence. This illusion of expertise arises because we only see a small, understandable portion of the overall picture. Standing on the peak of Mount Stupid is the person who knows a little but believes they know everything. It is this superficial self-assurance that Khayyam contrasts with his 72 years of doubt. The true pursuit of knowledge, as is well known, leads not to peaks but to the valley of despair. This is the moment when you see how much more there is to master and your self-confidence drops to zero. Omar Khayyam, as an encyclopedic scholar, lived at the bottom of that valley his entire life, and therein lies his genius. This is not depression, but absolute intellectual humility before the grandeur of the universe. His philosophy teaches us to cherish this uncertainty as a sign of the highest understanding. For those who appreciate quality literature, the Rubaiyat of Omar Khayyam is the essential classic for your shelf. This collection is perfect both for your personal library and as a valuable gift. Don't miss the opportunity. Order your edition now. The direct purchase link is located below the video. As a mathematician, Khayyam understood that the universe is governed by laws that we can describe. But once he shifted his gaze from the heavens to humanity, that certainty vanished. A person's own life proved to be so unpredictable that any attempt to calculate it was futile. Is our destiny predetermined, or are we the creators of our path? This is the question he kept open in his poetry. The poet often uses the image of the heavens as a chessboard, where we are merely pawns in a game played by higher powers. However, even if the pieces move according to a plan, we feel the illusion of choice in every moment. In this contradiction between fate, fatum, and freedom, his philosophical depth is born. He does not call for passive waiting, but for an awareness of the fragility of our will. This balance makes his philosophy very dynamic rather than fatalistic. In the modern world, we are obsessed with planning and control, creating multi-year strategies and detailed life roadmaps. Khayyam quietly smiles from the past, observing these futile attempts. True knowledge lies not in the ability to predict, but in the ability to adapt to what is unpredictable. This unpredictability, which we often ignore, is the true essence of life. Letting go of the illusion of control frees up enormous inner energy. Khayyam's most unexpected idea is that true liberation comes through the acknowledgement of this unknown force. We cannot control the external world, but we can control our reaction to it. This is a transition from attempting to change fate to changing ourselves and our perception. Therefore, his philosophy is not about fatalism, but about inner independence that grows out of accepting uncertainty. Let's consider his famous metaphor of the clay and the potter. We are all the clay, but the potter might not be God, but rather circumstances and our unconscious decisions that shape our form. When we seek knowledge, we try to understand whose hand is shaping us and why we were given this unique form. This search for purpose is the first step toward uncertainty, because the answers are not publicly available. Whoever considers themselves a finished, perfect vase will never seek more knowledge. A true sage, conversely, feels like a soft piece of clay that constantly needs refinement. This realization of one's own imperfection gives impetus to eternal movement, which is the opposite of complacency. That is why Khayyam so readily admits his lack of knowledge. He knows that the perfect form is just an illusion. The metaphor of wine, which is often misinterpreted, is not just a call to hedonism. It is a call to clarity and presence in the moment, which is the opposite of philosophical speculation. Wine releases intellectual tension, allowing one to see life as it is, without our mental constructions. This is the moment when you stop searching and start seeing the true simplicity of being. This seeing is the end point after years of searching. But even this clarity is fleeting, as is any earthly joy. The entire value of the clay metaphor lies in the fact that even the most beautiful bowl will eventually shatter, and the form will disappear. This is a philosophical fact that compels us to value the process of shaping, not the final result. Therefore, the years of searching are more important than the result itself, which, according to Khayyam, we will not achieve anyway. Let's return to Dunning-Kruger. The peak of confidence is a summit from which the horizon is invisible. The person only sees what is under their feet, and considers this small, visible area to be the whole world. This position is the most dangerous because it blocks further learning and critical thinking. Confidence that is not backed by a deep awareness of limitations is self-deception. Khayyam, however, proposes descending from this peak to see the true picture. The true wisdom demonstrated by Khayyam is not the knowledge of answers, but the knowledge of the right questions. He acknowledges the boundlessness of the universe, which automatically renders his knowledge insignificant against such grandeur. This is not about feeling worthless, but about a respectful attitude toward the complexity of the world. This depth of humility allows one to see things without illusions and internal pride. This is the most important intellectual maturation. The paradox is that absolute uncertainty grants absolute freedom. When you admit that you know nothing, you relieve yourself of the burden of always needing to be right. You gain the right to make mistakes, the right to change your mind, and the right to continuous learning. This is the difference between a philosopher and a dogmatist who is stuck in their unchanging worldview. This inspiring realization allows us to move forward without fear of losing face. Imagine social networks where everyone looks successful, confident, and has ready-made solutions for any problem. This is a perfect demonstration of the Mount Stupid phenomenon on a mass scale. We only see the filtered result, but we do not see the years of searching nor the inner doubts. Khayyam's philosophy is a necessary antidote to this digital pathos and brings us back to the value of internal work. Many successful people today suffer from the so-called imposter syndrome. In reality, this is often just a sign that they have overcome the first peak and have seen the depth of the problem they are working on. Khayyam shows that this feeling is not a syndrome that needs to be treated, but a medal for intellectual honesty. The one who believes they are not competent enough is often the only one who truly understands the complexity of their craft. Changing your mindset involves shifting from thinking of knowledge as a destination to thinking of it as a process. Khayyam does not say that we should stop searching. On the contrary, he encourages us to continue it until age 72 and beyond. The goal is not to find the answer, but to make the search a way of life. This is a continuous, dynamic, but never-ending journey. Why do we need all of this if we still know nothing? The thing is, knowledge is not the goal, but a tool for accepting your unique fate. Realizing that we do not know exactly how the potter is shaping us, we can stop comparing ourselves to other people's vases. This acceptance of one's own, perhaps imperfect but unique form, is the highest goal. If we cannot calculate the future, the only thing that matters is the present. This is Khayyam's direct call. Enjoy the moment. Do not postpone life until later, until you achieve absolute knowledge. It is the only thing we can control, and the only thing that is real in the flow of time. Khayyam's wisdom teaches us to value this fragility and immediacy as the most precious gift. Your own garden of the Rubaiyat is a place where you can accept that your path of search might be eternal, and that is okay. In this eternal uncertainty, you find true intellectual freedom. It frees you from the need to meet anyone else's expectations or follow external truths. Your years of searching, filled with doubt, are your greatest asset. So, do not be afraid of your intellectual uncertainty. On the contrary, welcome it. This deep, deliberate suspicion of one's own knowledge is what separates the master from the novice and the sage from the arrogant imposter. If this video has inspired you to reevaluate your path, subscribe to the Garden of the Rubaiyat channel. Share this thought with someone you believe is standing on Mount Stupid and needs the wisdom of doubt. We will continue our search together in the next videos.